What's up?
What's up, man?
We're here.
It's a fine Tuesday.
We finally fucking did it. God. We've had issues with getting cameras, getting tripods.
Absolutely.
There's a lot that goes into this.
Sound editing.
Yeah, we gotta do a bunch of editing.
Absolutely.
But we're here. How are you?
Man, I'm doing pretty good. Like you said, it's a nice Tuesday. I'm out of work at the moment, sadly, but...
Yeah, this was crazy times we're living in.
Yeah, damn COVID leave or whatever.
Yeah, and it's crazy that some of them jobs, they'll do everything that they can not to pay you for quarantine when you're exposed to that shit. It's like, do you know how important it is to not spread this shit?
Right. Well, and then the effects that has on you if they're not paying you, like, you still need the money.
Oh, yeah, I can't even imagine how many businesses are closing right now.
Oh, yeah.
It's insane. And,
Absolutely.
yeah, and I could use another $1,200. Sugar Daddy Trump would sign that check. Would be nice.
Sugar Daddy Trump, come on.
What have you been up to?
Man, mostly just trying to figure out what I'm gonna do musically, I think. This has been a big passion of mine lately, where I want to take that direction. And get myself back into good physical, comfortable shape. Been wanting to get back to the gym or something
It's
lately.
always good. Physical shape. But how's your mental health? Physical shape's always something people like to talk about, but mental health, it's ignored.
Mental health I try to make really important. I mean, I've never been to a psychiatrist. I've never been to a therapist. I have no idea psychologically if there are any mental illnesses really up here. So I think, I don't know, I think mental health is doing okay. I've done a lot lately to make sure to put myself where I need to be in terms of prioritization, you know, making myself what I need to be to put myself first and make myself happy. 'Cause happiness is my ultimate goal, whether I have $1,000 in my bank account or none.
Absolutely. Yeah. People get too focused on material things too, but are you happy with what you have is the big thing.
Right.
Can you be happy before you get what you're chasing? That's something I've had to learn how to do too, because I've been chasing what I'm after for a long time.
Absolutely.
It feels like, and I had to learn I need to be happy with my life now, because what if I never get it?
Right.
And then I look back on my life and I missed out on the people that were in my life, the people that supported me, and the other fun stuff I did. Like, don't chase something so hard with your head down that you look back one day and your life's gone.
Yeah.
And you didn't have time to
Absolutely.
tell the people that you love how much they mean to you, and you didn't appreciate little moments.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something I think people need to remember to do.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot that comes with success, but a lot of the things that people don't see are the risks, the failures, the time spent behind that success. Because, I mean, it's got to be your passion, but you have to draw a line. Because eventually, at some point, even if you do get it, you might lose it. What happens then?
Gone. It can be gone like that.
Nothing is guaranteed.
Yeah.
Nothing gold can stay.
And we're not meant to be here forever either, so
Absolutely not.
enjoying your day every day. That's important.
The little things.
Little things. I'm really starting to, cheers to that one.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm really, as I get older, I'm starting to appreciate it. And I'm starting to appreciate the people.
Yeah.
And I'm getting older. And when I was young, I just thought I'd get older, and the people I looked up to and the people that mentored me would stay the same age.
Yeah, like mentally, or like they wouldn't change?
No, just in the sense of I would grow up and they would still always be there.
Okay.
But I grew up and they're getting older also, because age affects everybody.
Yeah, time just keeps going.
And I've lost people, and also, it's tough watching family members get older, parents get older, and realizing you don't have as much time as you thought you did
Right, right, and
Time moves quick, and you can miss it quick.
what time you do have is very valuable and how you spend it. I think a lot of people tend to think that, or at least for me, like it's not so much matter what you say. People tend to say a lot, but just because you say something doesn't mean you mean it. Your actions have to follow, you know? So like with social media and whatnot, I tend to get a lot of people acting like they care, but then they don't want to put in the effort behind it, because there's time. Your time with someone will always matter more than anything else.
It's easy to care on social media. It's easy to hate on social media.
Absolutely.
Oh man, family members that you wouldn't talk to
Mm-hmm.
will fight with you on social media.
Right, but
It's like you don't care to check on me in my day to day. But all that, I don't know, it's getting nuts. Social media, I mean, where does that end? Where do you think that ends?
like the line for what you can or how you portray yourself on social media, like where you should draw that line.
No, how advanced it gets, and where maybe we're living in a virtual world eventually.
Yeah.
Where all we do is we're on social media.
It becomes less and less important, really, because if I lost my job tomorrow, I could find a job on the virtual world, and then I wouldn't even have to leave my house. And then what becomes my life?
Yeah.
Social media?
Yeah. Well, social media, no one wants to talk about it, but I think that's the biggest pandemic that's ever happened to this country, in the world.
Yeah, it's the biggest form of brainwash I have ever seen.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they're censoring who can say what, if it and you got people that, if it doesn't fit their narrative, then it gets blocked.
Right. Like, are you talking about like guidelines on certain?
Specifically, I'm talking about, and I don't want to get political by any means.
Right.
But Facebook is ran by liberals or left.
Yeah, left party.
And a lot of the time, right wing or conservatives that speak out a lot get
Censored.
I've been censored, and I'm not completely conservative.
Right.
I consider myself more of a libertarian, but I've been censored
On Facebook.
For
For expressing your views.
yeah. Specifically, I shared some stuff on Kyle Rittenhouse.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know much about that.
No, not too much.
Well, I won't get much into it, but I just shared factual information about him, and it was blocked by Facebook. Every post.
Well, and then that's such from a country where you're supposed to have free speech, freedom of speech. That is I can't think of the word. Impediment on that right.
Infringement. It's an infringement on your rights. Yeah.
Absolutely. Because that social media is there for you. It's your account. People have the ability to unfollow you if they don't like what you say. So why are you being?
Yeah.
And that's.
It's insane, and how much Facebook has changed.
Oh, just.
Do you remember being, I don't know, 10, 12 years old and having your Facebook, and what your Facebook was? It was people's posts. Like, hey, look at my flowers. Look at my dog.
Right.
I'm doing this today. This is what I'm thinking about. Me and the family are planning a great trip this weekend. And now it's turned into how much can I force my opinion on you?
Right.
And how much let's argue. That's what it is.
I personally don't have Facebook anymore. I think it's done a lot for my mental health. I don't see a lot of that negativity anymore. And I think that's pretty important. I mean, even if you do like social media, you should never have people on your social media that bring upon negativity, because you're worth more than that. Absolutely.
Yep. And I see that's where it ends, I think, for me personally.
Yeah.
Eventually I'm going to delete everything.
Because of the people and their negativity and how that...
Yeah, or I'm just going to do my thing. But if it keeps advancing and everything in the way that, you're you're watched all the time
Yeah.
and stuff like that, and you're censored. I don't see me being older and matured completely
Yeah.
and having social media at the same time.
Right, like that form of yourself can't.
I don't see
exist.
my future self with social media beyond my younger years.
I think that's kind of a good goal. I'm not gonna lie. I think social media is great, especially when it comes to keeping in touch with the news and what's happening in the world. I mean, we know what's going on thousands of miles away from us before it even, 10 minutes has gone by. We know about it, and that's amazing. But I mean, I forgot where I was going with that.
Well,
There's
it's
a
all good.
blooper.
Man. So, social media plays a big role in people's lives.
Absolutely.
And I've seen you kind of grow up.
Mm-hmm.
So I know a lot about you. I know a lot about your family. Tell me, not everybody else may know, tell me who you are.
So I'll just go ahead and,
Kind of give me your background in a
nutshell.
I mean, take your time if you need to. But
Heard that. Okay, so I was born to a single mother who at the time only had one other older child than me. We were about 4 years apart. I can remember growing up in a small trailer before. I have 3 brothers. Before the 2 younger ones were born, I can remember growing up in a small trailer. We didn't have father figures. That wasn't us. And my mom, for the longest time, was a drug addict. Kept herself locked in the room. I can remember my older brother and I keeping ourselves busy as children, trying to eat. He would make me food sometimes. I can remember hardly being able to want to walk on the floor because it was so covered and torn up playing cards and hopefully this isn't too depicted for you guys, but mouse poop. I mean, you couldn't walk on these floors. I can remember stealing stuff from my mom because she would always be locked up in her room. So if she'd leave something out, like I don't know, like some money or something, we'd steal some money and take it to school with us, get us something extra at school. It's funny though. During those times, she was flipping stuff. She was selling drugs. I can remember. We were spoiled for a little while. It's kind of weird because she wouldn't make big purchases. If you're a drug dealer, any drug dealer knows this. You don't make big purchases.
Right.
You don't go out and buy a $1,500 car and follow that by buying
people
new
start
furniture.
asking questions if you pull up in a new Lambo and you're living in a trailer house.
That's fucking right. Yeah, so she would take us to like Dollar General and stuff, and I can remember being some of the first kids to have the wired up electronic like fucking helicopters. You could fly them, but they had a wire in between
Oh,
them,
no
dude.
shit.
Yeah, no shit. And we had all the Yu-Gi-Oh gear you could ever think of, man. All the fucking playing arms
Remember
stuff.
how fucking clunky them things were?
Oh,
They were the best, but like I was a little kid and that fucking thing weighed my arm out. Like a motherfucker.
Yeah, dude, and all the Power Rangers stuff you could ever think of, and to continue on, to progress on, she eventually met another man, which was the father to my 2 younger brothers, and he was a part of our life for a while. Still was up until a couple months ago when I lost Facebook. He would, out of all the men in my life, I've never seen a man try this hard to be in mine.
He cared.
He truly cared. And I've never been more thankful because my 4th birthday, I told my mom I wanted to call my dad and have a conversation with him, and all I got was 45 minutes of her screaming on the phone because he wouldn't do it. And Dylan, he used to see his dad, my older brother, but he eventually moved, stopped paying child support, that kind of thing, So, I mean, there's a lot to be said about effort and how that affected me growing up. So when my younger brothers were born, my mom was still an addict. We went back and forth between living with my grandparents and living on our own. When they were born and as they started to get a little bit older, 2, 3, 4, I realized how much of a role model I could be for them and how much I could affect their lives. And I took that very seriously. I can remember a lot of the times we wouldn't have a lot of food. I can remember not eating just so they could. Definitely not eating as much. It affected my eating habits. There's still, I go about 2 weeks where I stuff my face, and then about 2 weeks where I damn near starve myself. So I won't hardly eat all day. Maybe once, maybe twice, and that's still something I'm fighting every day. And that's something that affected me growing up. And I realized as I continued to get older, and especially when I was old enough to make money, how important that was for them to see that someone was there trying to make sure that they had what they could have. My mother wasn't necessarily there. She was, but she wasn't. Sometimes she was working, sometimes she wasn't. And after I turned about 12, I think we started getting back child support from my biological dad, which was a big help, but it definitely aided her addiction. That was a very, 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 because then there was no, she got $1,000 every month, $1,200 almost. She didn't have to work. That wasn't.
I remember some of those days. And I don't want to speak on your younger brother's experiences in childhood. Because, I'm not in their shoes, but I was there for a lot of those. Well, I went to school with you and
With
your
the older brother, yeah.
And I remember being around a lot because we were all pretty close. Well, brothers, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those boys looked up to you and your older brother. Those two younger boys.
Yeah.
A lot. And you guys all might not have a father figure, one father figure.
No.
But you may not realize that you were a father figure to them growing up. And I think in a way you made their childhood better than what yours and your older brother's was.
I think so too. And I know my older brother tried to do the same for me. But at the same time, he dealt with a little bit more. We went through a lot of similar things. I've been a part of molestation and stuff like that. I've been a part of being beaten and abused and neglected by my parents and even my older brother as well. And I know how when he went through those things that affected him, he ladled so many of those emotions on me. I remember sometimes I was the reason that he was still getting out of bed. His depression, I saw how that affected him a lot and realized that it's so much of a mental struggle and how those things affect you. And so when I looked at myself as a role model for my younger brothers, I let them see that conflict. I thought that was really important, and I thought it was really important that my older brother let me see that. Your imperfections are such an important way to moving forward into who you want to be. You wouldn't know
Absolutely.
where you want to be if you didn't see those imperfections.
Absolutely.
Right? So whether they're caused by you or people you know or experiences you've had, you have to accept those things and realize that they're a part of you and you have to carry it with you every day.
Mm-hmm.
There are some mornings I still wake up and I run a recap through my head, everything I've been through, so I don't forget where that put me and where it put me mentally today, where it put me physically, emotionally. It threw me all over the board for the longest time. I didn't know who to blame or who to trust. Especially growing up. My older brother, I wanted for him to be like a father figure, but he was still abusive and mentally and emotionally and physically.
And another thing is, he probably experienced more than even you did, maybe.
Some of it, yes.
And I think there was no one to vent to for him. And I feel like also that maybe he was taking out the stuff that he didn't know how to deal with on you.
Absolutely.
He was taking his anger from his situation out on you.
Absolutely. Because, at that point, we only had one person to blame, and that was, our mother figure. But that's not even necessarily entirely fair to her. There are a lot of things that happened that are entirely out of her control. She could have never done anything even if she had known.
And another thing is, I don't want this to be we're pointing fingers either.
Oh, absolutely.
We have no idea what addiction is, really, until you're in those shoes.
Yeah.
Okay, and I remember there being a whole debate on social media. It's a choice, it's a disease, it's a choice, it's a disease. It's both.
It's both.
Okay?
Absolutely.
You chose to do that drug, yes, but at some point, it takes effect on your brain.
Mm-hmm. Changes something chemically.
Chemically, I think, yeah. And your brain relies on that. Your body becomes so used to it. And you have no idea how fast it grasps you. Some people try stuff one time and it's gone. They have to have it.
Right.
You know, yeah.
It's
you just don't know what it does, and you can't. You blame that person to an extent because it's like, get your life together. There's people depending on you. Come on.
right.
But also, it's
Where
are you struggling?
Where are you mentally?
Where are
yeah.
you?
Yeah.
And I think that's where kids struggle understanding where their parents are coming from. And at the same time, your mom had your older brother young,
19.
19.
Mm-hmm.
That's young. That's still young to have a kid.
Absolutely.
And some people grow up later on.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot was happening. She tried drugs. She had a kid.
Mm-hmm. And of course, we don't hold it against her that no father figure stuck around. That's no amount of manipulation or anything, whatever.
And where would she be if one of those father figures had stuck around and helped her through addiction?
And there's no way of telling, you know.
There's no way of telling. You could have had a completely different childhood.
Absolutely.
But you know what? One thing I do want to say, and I want you to know this too, and your mom and all your brothers, is you guys turned out wonderful for all the shit that you've been through. And I'm so proud of your mom for everything that she fought through.
Absolutely.
She got help.
And
She's clean.
mm-hmm.
She's living a good life. She got away from the area because she thought it would be a temptation.
Knew that it wasn't a good, healthy area for her to be in. And then that's knowing your surroundings as someone with problems with addiction. Because then it's a disease. It follows you. It doesn't let go. She still thinks about it. Doesn't mean she does it.
Absolutely.
And that's where it becomes a choice.
I don't want to compare the two, but it'd be like your passion. In a way, you have a passion for something, and then making you quit it. You have to stop. You're going to think about it. You're going to think about doing it. You're going to think about the feelings it gave you.
Where you would be if you were still doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And those things... Yeah,
but anybody that goes down that dark road and looks up and says, this isn't it.
Mm-hmm.
This
isn't all for me. Yeah, this isn't all for me.
My life's supposed to be more than this. Shout out to them because more people than not have just continued down that road and lost their lives, and it affected
so many people.
So many people.
And people, I know with the experience of my mom going through addiction, the more she continued to use, the lower she got because she felt like she was failing us. And in a way, sure, she was. We can hold that against her in a way. But at the same time, she, the person she was to us, the person she is, and to anyone battling through addiction, the person you are meant to be. So there are people in your life that value you for who you are, whether you have the addiction or not. I've known quite a few people who have gone through some addiction. Did that ever necessarily change my entire opinion on them as a person? Absolutely not. When my mom made it through, rehab and whatnot, and I took my time getting back in her life and letting her back in mine, I realized that I never stopped admiring her as a person.
No. Your mom is still a very, very strong person, and the reason I say that is, as much as we don't know how much she was battling her addiction,
Mm-hmm.
even when you were all together and living under her roof. She kept that away from you.
For the most part.
For the most part, you
Yeah.
weren't exposed to
The variety
doing
of hard
the
drugs
drugs.
that she was
Yeah.
doing, yeah.
for the most part, and the sacrifices she's had to make now. She probably wants her boys all
Absolutely.
together,
Absolutely.
but she had to make the decision for herself and everybody. It's better for me to not be in that area,
Mm-hmm. Better for me to not.
so I can be the best version of me, so my boys can have the best version of me.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
shout out, Mom.
Shout out, Mom.
Shout out, Mom.
That was, and it's been, addiction has no time period, guys. Let me tell you, I'm 20 now, so the entirety of the 20 years that I have recollections of, she's been battling this addiction. It's only been the last 6 to 8 months where I can say my mom had a conversation with me and didn't tell me a memory wrong. You know, I can remember her. At one point when she was using, she would tell me it's something from our past, and I would remember it in a different way. Like, she'd talk about a pet we got and how I got it, and I think to myself, Mom, that's not how I got it. And then that's one of the most hurtful things I've ever experienced, because I've never wanted to sit and look someone in the eye that's been around me 24/7 basically since I was born and tell them, you weren't paying attention. You something's, you're mixing things up. You're changing.
How much that drug was probably affecting her brain.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I do want to ask you, because not everyone goes through everything that you've been through. I've nowhere near been through what you've been through. I mean, I've had my own experiences, and I was there for I would say a large portion of some of that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of your childhood, anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But what would you say to kids maybe going through your situation, or even adults going through your situation that are trying to battle through how to feel about an addict they were exposed to, or their parents being the way that
Unjust
they
situations, even.
are. Unjust situations where they feel like their parents did them wrong. And also, sorry to interrupt you.
I know you're all good.
If forgiveness and how you go about that,
So,
and another thing, and if you can.
right. So, I won't say that I've even experienced every harsh thing that you could ever experience, every bad memory. We all have our different experiences, but I know the bad experiences I had and the way I had to perceive it in my eyes to get the most out of it, in my opinion, was a lot of it. A lot of it was based on the situation. So, like physical abuse with my older brother. A lot of it was trying to understand what he went through to have those emotions, and then trying to understand why he wanted me to be around him so much, but he would treat me the way he would. Why it was such a, I love you, but I can't control myself around you. It took me a long time to understand that a lot of times when people continue to treat you that way, some of it is them battling through those emotions, because there is no letting go of emotions when you don't release them. It took me a long time to understand that he had to let that anger out, even if it meant me being his punching bag. He had to let that anger out for it to not affect him longer, for it to not have worse side effects than what it already was, even though it wasn't, because he had the guilt, from hurting me and putting pressure on me.
But that was him dealing.
But
that was him dealing with what he was going through, also.
Exactly, that was him accepting what he was put through, even though he had no control over it. Like, I had no control over him doing those things to me up until a certain point when he realized I wasn't a kid anymore. Right. He realized that I was getting to be a young man, and
he was dealing with a lot too.
Yeah.
Not only the hurt that he had experienced before you boys probably,
Mm-hmm.
but what he was dealing with, in the sense of, he was an adult. He knew what your mom was probably doing and going through.
He knew just about as much as I did. She tells me.
Right. And then also being a father figure to the boys and you in a way.
Right, because he didn't have that.
No, he didn't have.
He had a couple when my mom was dating guys. I'll tell you, she had about. You don't even want me to start naming names. I could lay out about 15, I think,
No, we don't have to get into
in
all
the
that,
20 years.
But yeah, he was dealing with a lot. Everyone was dealing with a lot, and it's important. Absolutely, if you experience any sort of abuse or you're going through something, don't be silent about it.
Absolutely.
There are people out there that care about you. There are people out there that want to help you,
Mm-hmm.
and they can better your situation. Don't be so prideful in this is my garbage and I got to deal with it myself.
Right.
And that goes with anything outside of, if you are struggling, contact somebody. Because I'd absolutely rather hear you vent and help your situation than have to go to another freaking funeral.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Because,
And a lot of the times, kids either end up going down the same paths their parents did
mm-hmm.
when they're in those situations, or they end up finding themselves in worse situations, or suicidal.
Absolutely.
Or they continue the pattern of abuse on their children.
And it can be a quick downhill, or like I said, my mom's lasted 20 years. It took 20 years for her to get to her lowest point.
She was on and off though, wasn't she?
Yeah, she...
Because I would say she was clean.
Almost a decade.
Almost, yeah.
Almost a decade.
Through high school. Me and your older brother's high school.
Yeah.
At least, because I remember her telling me that. And you know what? And I don't want this to be anything bad on her, because your mother helped me through so much. There was stuff that I came to her about that I sometimes didn't feel comfortable coming to my parents about.
Mm-hmm.
She cares about people.
Mm-hmm.
She cares about her kids and her family. And she wants to help people too. But in a way, she didn't realize that she had to help herself
First. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Sometimes you know how to help other people, but you don't know how to help yourself. And I struggle with that too. I can give out the best advice, but I have my own situations sometimes, and I'm like,
Yeah, and I mean, that's such a true statement. You know, I spent a lot of my time throughout my childhood putting myself last. You know, talking about how, like, making sure my brother's really dealing with my older brother's emotions. I put so many of my emotions and feelings to the side for the longest time. That when I finally found myself, my first relationship, it was a good relationship for the longest time, but it was toxic in a way, and it took me a long time to understand that I could never be the person I wanted to be for her until I was the person I wanted to be for myself. And that goes for, if you're trying to help someone who's going through something, you know, any kind of trauma, any kind of whatever struggles, make sure that you are also in your mental right state, because you can't help someone unless you can help yourself. And
absolutely. Absolutely.
And of course, people who are going through things, if you have to understand as well that, yes, we are here for you. And at the end of the day, I will do whatever I can for you. But I'm still fighting for myself, too. You know, you have to allow, just because someone isn't dropping everything every second, don't underestimate that for them not caring.
That is something I don't think people think about either. Kind of going back to the social media deal.
Mm-hmm.
You post a derogatory thing, and I've been guilty of it too. I don't want to say I'm clean of it.
Yeah, I'm sure I have as well.
And I've tried to step away from that, but you post something that you know is going to set off a certain amount of the population.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that they're not in the wrong, but you have no idea the shit that you say to that person, how that affects them, what they're going through, what their situation is. Be kind to people.
Absolutely.
they got the weight of their world on their shoulders, and a mean comment can be that straw that breaks that camel's back.
Absolutely.
Because you don't know what demons that person goes home and fights when they go home.
Exactly. Especially subconsciously too. A lot of people don't realize what, especially with like, no, I'm gonna blank on the word.
What are you thinking of?
Like, I want to say your own issues, but that's not the quite descriptive word I want to use. When people are dealing with their own insecurities, there we go, their own insecurities, they're not always consciously aware of what they are. So especially something like just a comment on something you don't even think means that much to them might set them off because of a subconscious insecurity they don't realize they have.
Yep.
So when people talk about not understanding where their emotions come from, that's a lot of times what it is. It's that subconscious thing where they really have to stop and make themselves feel it. There's no other way to move past emotions without stopping feeling it. You have to make yourself feel it.
And that also, absolutely be kind. Absolutely try to realize maybe what you don't know.
Yeah.
But also, to the person, take time to reflect on yourself, even if you are going through something.
Right.
Know where you want to be. Know what you have to get to.
Mm-hmm.
Keep working towards that. But at the same time, reflect and realize, why is what this person's saying to me affecting me so much?
Right.
Does this person really know who I am?
Right.
Do they really know what I'm dealing with? And if it not, then I know it's easy to say, but you just gotta brush it off and be like, you know what? That person's dealing with something too. That's why they have to leave a nasty comment under something.
Nobody wants to cut anybody slack nowadays. We all expect each other to be perfect, whether we realize we do or not. And I think a lot of that has to do with subconscious social media cues. There's so much we see through social media. That we don't realize affects our opinion on how we should be, on how we could be, on how we are, and that affects your mental view of yourself and your mental view of other people. You know, You can totally change how you view yourself just because you read some posts from someone, and then that goes vice versa to how you treat people. I mean, you can't just comment on someone's post because, yes, you do have the right to say what you want on social media.
Right, and I don't have a problem with constructive criticism.
Mm-hmm.
When someone is wrong, absolutely not call them out, but say, hey, come on.
Yeah, like,
and explain to them without being rude. You can criticize and be polite.
absolutely.
That's what I'm gonna say.
Absolutely. You can.
And one thing I've had to realize growing up, people aren't raised the same as you.
No, morals and values.
No. Yeah. I saw a thing on Facebook, I think,
Mm-hmm.
and I loved it. It said, some people are raised in love, and some people are raised to survive.
Yeah.
And you, being older now, you can see who was raised with love and who had to fight every day to get where they're at. Well, not that, but had to, that were surviving, that didn't have the resources, I guess.
Right.
Because some kids don't get to be kids, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Some kids don't get to experience regular childhoods. They have to go out and do shit to make sure the family eats.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of things that you realize what kids were able to take certain things for granted. Not that they should be held against because they were able to take those things for granted. Because, in a way, your parents should provide everything for you, in those senses at least,
In a
right?
way. Well, ideally.
Yeah,
Until you're 18 years old.
Right. So those kids that, and I consider myself one of those kids. I had to start working we started mowing lawns together when I was 11, 12.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't keep a lot of that money. I was supporting my mom's habits, buying her cigarettes and stuff. And by the time I was able to turn 16, I got my first job. And I was having a conversation with another friend the other night, and I don't think he realized where that kind of affected my childhood. He was talking about how many awards he got throughout football. And I was like, yeah, man, that's awesome. But I was at work every Friday night, Thursday through fucking Sunday, sometimes Wednesday through Sunday, 5 days of the week, 6-7 hour shifts, doing what I had to do to make sure my family eat, that I had gas to get to school, that we had water to drink, that, you know, so we could shower, you know, and I don't think he realized when he was talking about those things that I wasn't able to experience. You don't realize sometimes how much you have until you meet that person that just didn't get it, that just didn't get to experience that. And that's where your experiences are so important and how you come off of them. Because then he was able to understand other experiences that he had and was able to kind of put himself in my shoes and understand how that took away some from me and how that made me mature more because I was in a different mindset, you know?
Right.
It wasn't, man, how many points can I put up, you know, Friday night? No, it was maybe I'll get home and not get pulled over because I don't have insurance.
I remember that. I remember a lot of those days with being around you guys and the situations you were going through.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't experience them to the extent by any means, but I witnessed your struggle, and it's disheartening that kids have to go through that, but in a way, man, that it sometimes helps shape people.
Sometimes I think, especially if my biological dad had stayed around. Now, never met him, so I have no personal opinion of him, but everything that I have heard has not been neither great nor horrible. So, well, that's not entirely true. He's done some fucked up things, but so you know, how that affected my view of how I would turn out definitely put a lot of pressure on myself to be something I didn't know what was. You know what I mean? I didn't want to be who he was, even though I had no idea who he was.
Yeah.
And then sometimes kids without parents, you don't want to be your parent, but did you ever stop and think how your parent felt looking at you, or how your parent felt seeing you do the things you did, even if they weren't showing it in the ways they should? People have a way of hiding when they care the most. You know what I'm saying? Some people sometimes are so vulnerable to themselves that they don't want to let the people know who are closest to them that they mean so much. And that's such a struggle. It's so hard. It's so hard to understand the feeling until you're there.
Mm-hmm.
You can put it into words as much as you want, but that's not the sweat coming off your face because it's hot, you know, from talking about something, you know. It's such a thing. Experiences, don't forget your experiences and where they have pushed you and where they have led you.
Yeah. Remember where you come from.
Absolutely. Roots are important.
Yeah, very. One thing I want to ask you is, you've been through those experiences and they helped you find passions.
Mm-hmm.
And I know one of those passions for you is music, absolutely.
Absolutely.
And
100%.
it's something that you have loved, and from all sorts of genres, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
What about music brings you passion? How do you want to express yourself with your music? And what do you want to work on in your near future musically?
So, yeah, music has stayed a very, very important part of my life. I still want to continue to make music. For those of you who don't know, I used to be in a band. I used to play shows throughout, I guess I'll give away some of our area, Kansas City, Topeka area. I played shows in as a 16, 17-year-old. I played guitar in a heavy metal band, and I loved it. The thing about music, especially to me, was when nobody else was around. And it was like such a it felt like pure emotion sometimes. There are things that I remember writing and playing that I play now, and I wonder, how did I write that? What was I feeling then? Because I try to write some things now, and I wasn't going through, or I'm not going through near as I used to be, near as much shit as I used to be. And I realized how much that helped me and pushed me. And a lot of it is, we humans, I think, tend to do better when something is holding us back. You know what I mean?
When your back's against the wall and all your chips are on the table.
There's nothing like real pressure, and then
Pressure exposes real people.
absolutely.
Pressure exposes real talent. And
Well, and pressure also exposes your grit. Some people have grit to continue. Boys, I used to play. I'd go to football practice after school, 3:30 to 5:30, 6 o'clock, whatever, 6:30. I'd come home from 7 to 10:30. I'd sit and play guitar the whole time. I mean, sometimes it is that you have to do it. There's almost no other way to put it sometimes. Even if you're scared or you're uncomfortable, or if it's something you feel like you want to do, then do it. There is no shame in starting off. I
don't expect results right away.
Absolutely.
I mean, don't pick something up and say, I want to do this
Today.
and I'm going to be this within a week.
Yeah.
There is nothing really that success. If you want to be successful, there's nothing that you can pick up and be the best at in a week.
Absolutely not.
No,
Absolutely.
you have to make a plan. I don't want to go off on myself, but I decided at the age of, I decided when I graduated, maybe basketball's not for me.
Yeah?
I'm too small. I'm too skinny. I started letting what everyone else said about me come in. You're too skinny. Eat a cheeseburger.
You can't move down the floor. I remember you used to get that one a lot.
Yeah, you're too slow. Okay, and for a while I let that in. I said okay. And I went to college and I was just gonna be an athletic trainer, and that's all I was gonna be. And I don't know, when I came home, something clicked that, you know what, this is my life. I want to look back and say, I didn't become what everyone told me I was going to be.
Right. I was what I wanted to be.
And I started going to the gym at 19, 20 years old, every day.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that people had treated me in the past, doubted me in the past, it put a huge chip on my shoulder. And in a way, having a chip on your shoulder is good. It is, because you're gonna give it all you got to prove somebody wrong. But at the same time, you can't let that chip on your shoulder become too big.
Yeah.
Because then it doesn't just leave there.
Mm-mm.
And so on the court, I took on a new, I would say, identity. Persona, I would say. Not that I was a different person, but outside of these lines, I want to be your friend, but when we come in here, I'm going to kill you.
It's business.
I'm here to destroy you. I'm here to crush your fucking dreams. Period. Sorry for the cuss words. But that's just the persona that I step on the court with. I still do, but the issue, because of that chip at 19, 20 years old,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to turn it off. I'm angry. And I'm angry on the court, and I'm angry when I step off the court. And I'm angry going to work, and I'm angry when I talk to people. I'm complaining about everything. And I still struggle with that. I complain too much. And that's something that people gotta realize is you gotta work for something. And don't let your passion and your people downing you become too big of a chip. Don't let the chip on your shoulder become a boulder, because it's going to weigh you down.
Right. Well, and there's a good saying, keep your friends close but your enemies closer. And, a lot of the reason they say that is that chip. right? Your enemies push you. Your friends support you. Your enemies push you. If you didn't have an enemy out there, how far would you say you'd really go? If you didn't have someone saying, you can't do that shit. I remember, so a little off topic, but going with, that chip on your shoulder. I got told a lot growing up. One of my passions that I really wanted to do is I wanted to be able to dunk. Now, guys, I'm a pretty short guy, 5'9", 5'11", somewhere around there. I got told.
Got some hops though.
Yeah, I got told all the time I couldn't do it. And so throughout high school, I spent a lot of my time at home doing at-home workouts. My body's not good for the gym. And I got a lot of hate for that. Bro, you're too thin. You're not that athletic. You can't really move that well. Like, you can't do things that well. I'm like, okay, whatever. And, for the most part, while I was there, it flew out my ear, right? But that enemy came back when I was at home. When you're on the court, that enemy comes back. And that's why I think you feel so strongly. It's because it's like in your face again, Those feelings are in your face again. So when you're on the court, because that's your passion, it's where you feel it the most. So allowing people to get under your skin a little bit is a good thing. People are...
But you can't. And I say you can't, like I'm preaching at you, but because I'm saying this because I've done it. I let what people said about me become my anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
I let it become depression. And then I took that with me. And sometimes I have to check myself on the court and off the court. When things don't go my way, like I can handle once and I can handle twice.
Mm-hmm.
But 3 or 4, I start getting anxiety and I panic. Even when I'm playing ball. Like, I'll have a turnover, I miss shots, I start panicking and anxiety,
Yeah.
and everything that people said to me comes back.
Yeah.
And you have to say, stop. You aren't who you were then. You aren't what they say about you. You are what you make yourself to be.
You are what you define yourself as.
And so, the best thing I remembered, and this goes for on the court and off the court, you make a mistake, you get back on defense. You make a mistake, go to the next possession. A good player forgets.
Yeah, absolutely.
A good person forgets.
Forgives and forgets.
Forgive and forget. Forgive yourself and
Absolutely.
forget about it. We gotta
Absolutely.
move on.
Absolutely. Time does not stop.
If you focus on mistakes, you'll make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But of course, mistakes are important though, don't let go of certain mistakes. There are some mistakes that I haven't let go of because I know that holding on to them and how they affected me have made me a more understanding person, especially when it comes to things like abuse and neglect and stuff. I'm no perfect person. I wasn't the greatest to those boys. I mean, I was dealing with a lot myself that then came out as my own frustration and anger and hate even when I didn't mean it to be. But you have to understand that you need those things to continue on. You have to, even if mistakes are made, those mistakes are a part of you, and they help you know to what not to do next time. You can apply almost damn near any mistake to any situation if you look at it, right? Point of view is so important.
Point of view is very important. Point of view can sometimes change the situation completely.
Entirely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, something can go from, shit, man, I have to work 5 days out of the week to buy my mom cigarettes and make sure we have food, but guess what I'm doing now? I'm buying a skateboard. I'm, saving up money for a car. I'm getting ready to make some big boy decisions. I'm trying to ollie down gaps and stuff. There are a lot of ways that you can turn negatives into positives if you put it towards things you want to do.
Yeah.
Does it mean?
I got nothing to add to that. You pretty much nailed that on.
Yeah, so, I guess to kind of cap up on that conversation, if you're struggling, if you're going through something, remember that a person is not defined by their looks nor their decisions. Always. You should always trust someone's actions more than their words. If someone says they're going to be there for you, you should expect them to be there. Until they are honest with you about their own struggles.
And let your struggles help fuel your passions.
Mm-hmm. Don't be afraid to get emotional.
Absolutely, but don't let those emotions spill out into everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I don't know about that orange beer.
It's a little weird. Okay, so it's nice, but not at the same time.
It's almost like they put too much citrus.
That's I was gonna say it's
Is
got a
what
lot
I
of
wanna
citrus. It's almost like a beer Sprite.
Yeah, like somebody took Sprite and beer, mixed it, and then was like, "Oh, I see."
Fuck yeah! High C, god damn it.
So before we came on here, I said, "Make me a list of your top 10 beers." Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to find where that's at real quick. This is the list that this man made. Okay,
I love this list, boys.
this list is trash.
Why are you talking about my childhood?
Damn. Alright, so top 10 beers is what I had him put. And this is this man's list. First off, he's got Budweiser at 10.
It's awful, boys. I don't like it.
It's his least favorite beer, he says.
I will say there was a very attractive woman in my life that almost upsetted that feeling. If she had been a more prominent part of my life, I think I probably love Budweiser. But she wasn't around enough to push me towards it.
Beautiful woman will make you do a lot of things you normally wouldn't do.
Call out.
He has 9. He's got Natty Light. I got a question there.
Go for it.
That is a very controversial statement within itself. You put Budweiser ahead of Natty Light?
So
You
that tells
put Budweiser below Natty Light.
that tells me that you think Natty Light's awful.
It's not awful because I understand being on a budget.
Okay.
And if you gotta
okay.
drink Natty Daddy, you drink Natty Daddy. But I don't understand. Budweiser's an expensive, I would say, quality beer. I'm not saying it's for everybody, but it is a quality.
They have.
Higher
It's not like
quality
they don't
beer.
have experience making beer.
Right.
But Natty Light I put above Budweiser because I've had more Natty Lights than I've had Budweiser, and I do relatively have a better opinion. I'll drink a Natty Light Tall Boy if I have to.
I'm over here talking shit on Tyler like I consider myself some beer connoisseur.
We don't even drink draft beers.
Fuck craft beers. Sorry, Mom. I cussed. Number 8, you have Budweiser 55 Select. You like Budweiser 55 Select over Budweiser? I'm gonna be on your ass about the Budweiser at 10 this whole thing.
That's
And
okay.
Budweiser's not my favorite beer.
That's
but
okay.
That's rude.
55
I hurt
Select.
my feelings.
Okay, so 55 Select. I didn't put... Budweiser makes 55 Select, guys. So, the only reason I put that above Natty Light is because it's fucking water. It's 2.4% per 12-ounce can
Yeah,
of
but
alcohol.
We're talking about beer. We're not drinking water with.
I know, but that's why it's like number 8. It's
Okay.
when you can still get drunk off of it. It's a beer. It tastes like water.
Yeah. Well.
If you're like 6 to 8 beers down on something else and
What
you
you're
want to
saying
keep
is,
drinking,
if you're 16 years old and you want to brag to your buddies about how many beers you drank, you go buy a 30-pack of 55 Select and you
slam
down the whole 30,
thing, because
and
you
then you
won't.
might have a little buzz.
That's right.
And you're extremely hydrated.
That's right, and then you can go to your friends and be like, "Yeah, boys, look at this fucking 30-pack I slammed all by myself."
Number 7, Miller High Life. Okay.
I got some funny stories behind Miller High Life. So my ex used to have this friend that dated this gang member who drank nothing but Miller High Life. He was a drunk. And I mean, to the point he would, anytime we had them over, I mean, on this girl's graduation, he had a Miller High Life before he went into the school building. It was that bad. And this dude drank nothing but Miller High Life. And I got an itch one day. I was like, yeah, sure, I'll try one. Awful. Horrible. I'm
But
okay
you
with...
still, you said horrible, awful, but you like that better than Budweiser?
Yes, Budweiser, I can't hardly have a sip of it unless it's ice cold. Ice cold. It has to be ice.
Okay. Michelob is 6. That's a good one. Okay. Michelob's are good beers.
They're okay. They're in the middle area.
I don't mind them.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, I would never pay for one.
Free beer is good beer.
I don't mind them. Number 5, Bud Light. That's my personal favorite.
Yeah?
If I'm gonna buy beer, I'm gonna buy Bud Light.
Bud Light's just a good party one. It's just one of those ones that if I'm not really feeling a beer, it works. I won't complain about it. I won't probably compliment it very much, but...
Well, you know, as long as it gets you drunk. Number 4.
You say Coors Light.
Do what?
Coors. If you don't want to use Reds. I'll put Coors there.
Okay, well, Tyler originally had Red Apple, which is an ale.
Yep.
So this is Tyler's top 9 beers. But he says he wants to put Coors there. He said he put Coors in. So that's alright.
No.
Coors or Coors Light?
Probably Coors Light.
Okay. I used to have a big thing with Coors Light.
Really?
In fact, me and your older brother, we used to drink a lot of Coors Light. And then one night we got way too drunk off of it. And, I mean way too drunk off of it. I drank a lot of them. And, I stayed at your house.
Really?
Yeah, and we went to the freezer, and I had forgot that I had put canned, because I was going to drink more, I forgot I had put them in there.
Yeah.
I passed out.
Oh, no.
And I opened up, and they had exploded, and a wave of Coors hit me with my bad hangover.
Oh.
And I had the worst headache, and I immediately felt sick to my stomach. And that was one of the worst hangovers I ever had. So now, I'll drink like I'll drink a Coors Light,
Yeah?
and then that headache will come back for that.
Really?
Just slightly, I can feel it. And the same thing with Coors Banquet.
Yeah.
It's a good beer, but the headache I get off of them, I can't handle it.
Probably makes it not worth it.
Number 3, is Coronas. I like Coronas.
I like a good Corona. I think they're almost more of a special occasion beer, honestly.
Yeah.
I wouldn't drink them.
Good. Absolutely have to have limes. If you bring Coronas to a party without limes,
Or salt.
you can leave. Okay?
Good
Bring
mental
Coronas and no limes. We don't want you here. 2, Bush. Bush or Bush Light?
I put Bush because Bush Heavy or Bush Light, I don't care.
Okay.
I don't mind. I don't know.
I'll drink both.
They're both of them to me. Maybe I've had them enough that they're almost like
All
water.
of our buddies drink Bush Light, so we've been drinking a lot of Bush Light just so everyone can
Oh,
indulge.
Yep. They're a good time beer.
Number 1, your favorite beer is Modelo's?
Modelo's, yes. No beer I have enjoyed as much as I enjoyed my first 12-pack of Modelo's. Actually, it might have been a 24-pack, but you get my point.
Yeah, they're good.
They're good.
Very good.
So quick funny time story, talking about one of those experiences and how that affected you alcohol-wise. And an alcohol that I now can't drink is UV Blue. Because
of me?
No.
Okay.
You'll like this. I was living with my older brother and his fiance at the time. I was 17. I had moved out of my mom's, and it was New Year's Eve. And I told him, I was like, "Yeah, guys, I'm gonna get drunk. I got a whole bottle of UV Blue. Come on, let's drink." Nobody wanted to drink with me. They wanted to smoke. So I'm like, "Okay, fine. Smoke your weed, whatever. I'm gonna get drunk." So I start hammering this UV Blue. I'm playing some Minecraft, and eventually I got out to go smoke a cigarette, and it hits me. I'm drunk. But at this point, there's like this much of a bottle left, because I don't know if you guys have ever had UV Blue. I like it. It's good shit. Raspberry vodka.
I used to drink a shit ton of it.
I
can't do it anymore.
I'll skip ahead, but I finished the whole bottle, blacked out, threw up in my toilet, threw up all over the floor or whatnot. Somehow made it to bed, and I'll leave you guys with this. I had shit myself the next morning. I woke up with shit all in my pants. I had to throw away.
I woke up with shit all up in my
They were work
all
pants.
up in my pants.
They were work pants too. That's the worst thing. I come straight home from work and just hammered it. Yeah, I had to throw away a pair of pants, underwear, blankets, fucking sheets. And my mom damn near caught me too.
He just shit himself.
But your turn for your lister.
Oh shit.
I can't drink UV
Well,
Blue
okay.
anymore.
I'll give you my story about UV blue after my list.
Sounds good.
You might enjoy this.
I bet I will.
All right. I had it 10. I had Coors Light at 10. Yeah. I'll drink it, but yeah. Well, I had it 9. I had Coors, but I don't know if we're putting those together.
You could consider them
The
separate.
Banquets I'll put at 9.
Yeah, we'll call them Coors.
I got Keystone at 8. I'd put Miller. Probably anything Miller at
Yeah.
7. 6. I kind of had that one blank.
Was it? I think it was supposed to be Coronas if we had been talking.
No,
about
I got Coronas at 4.
it. Good point.
I got Modelo's at 5. Coronas at 4. Busch at 3. Busch Light at 2. Bud Light at 1. I'd put Budweiser actually. That's what it was. I always forget about Budweiser. I just shit all over you about
Oh
Budweiser.
yeah, making it my least favorite beer. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a pretty good list though. Really,
Yeah.
I think my only beef is Bud Light.
Oh, he's got beef. Bud Light.
Bud Light, I don't think is worthy of that number 1 spot.
You don't?
No, it's a good beer, but I think it's really only good per the occasion. I'll drink them, but yeah, it's one of those things where I know nobody will really complain about it.
That's good. Good stuff. I like beer. I drink a lot of beer. I don't know what it is. I've always had a thing for beer.
Yeah.
Oh, my UV
Blue
story.
story. Yeah.
Well, this is listen, all you people at home that think you're some hot shot that can drink a bunch of freaking liquor. I'm 6'6", okay? I'm a pretty big guy.
Yep.
I drink a bottle of UV.
Oof.
I think it was blue raspberry.
And no, that's at least 40% alcohol, mind you. At least 40.
I should have died. And then my badass thought
Oh no.
I was going to drink half a bottle of Fireball too.
Oh.
No beer. I didn't have any beer that night, so I just went off on the UV and the
On the end of Fireball.
yeah, and the Fireball. Okay, so I don't remember how I got back to the house.
That's never a good start.
Okay, but I'm in the basement of my parents' house. My girlfriend at the time was there with one of her friends, and I pass out on the floor. I was too hot. I got too hot.
Yeah.
So I'm laying down on this tiled floor, and I'm laying on my stomach with my face to the side, and I'm passed the fuck out.
Toast.
Okay? And everyone's like, Hunter, you gotta get up. I was like, no, leave me here. Leave me here. And so I start not to feel good, of course.
Right, right.
My dumb ass should have thought of that. This is when I learned some of my limits. Okay? And so I lift my head up enough and I go, huh, and I puke here. Okay? And and I was so drunk, I was like, in my head I was like, I need to clean that up, but I pick my body up
Yeah.
and scoot like this far and lay my head back down. So the pile of puke's here. And then I puke there. Okay? And I pick my body up, scoot around, and then I puke over here. I was just puking in a circle. And everyone's rushing that was still awake
Conscious
to
enough.
clean it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It was not a good night.
So to continue some stories, because I know you've been here for a couple of them. Those of you who thought you were hard liquor drinkers, that's some hard liquor drinking right there. Fireball is nothing to fuck around with, and neither is UV. You'll get white girl wasted real fast. But for those of you kids who think you're a real strong stoner, let's see what you really got. You remember the days of getting pop cans, smashing them and crinkling them up, poking holes, making a bowl in them, and then taking off the tab so you could,
I've never done drugs, Mom. I've never done drugs. I don't know what he's talking about.
He was just there.
I was just there,
He was just there.
breathing in the smoky air.
Why did that have to rhyme? Is the world fair?
Because I'm a poet and didn't know it.
You know, if you've never done this, poked holes in it, you know, I can't say that you're a real stoner because I can't tell you how many times, 4, 5, 6, 7 times we would, because I mean, I don't care what you say. You say a real stoner knows how to roll. Some of us got dumb fingers, okay? Just because you can't roll doesn't mean you're not a real stoner. There's extents like this that gets you in that deep. I have so many.
There was like 5 of us in a bathroom huddled up with a pop can full of the grass.
Yeah.
Good times.
Good times. Good memories.
Oh man. Okay, so we've talked about. I kind of want to go back a little bit because this is interesting. You talked about your past.
Mm-hmm.
You talked about where you're at now.
Mm-hmm.
You talked about your passion. Kind of update us on where you're at. I know here recently you got married.
I had, yeah.
You moved.
I did.
And it didn't go well, I would say.
Not in the favor that I wanted it to, no.
It didn't turn out the way you wanted it.
Absolutely not.
But talk about that. Talk about where you're at. You don't have to say exactly what was going on, but how marriage at a young age affected you.
I can draw a quick picture for you, absolutely. So, for those of you that might be thinking, well, first of all, you shouldn't rush into a marriage. You're absolutely right. You absolutely shouldn't. You should spend a lot of time with that person, make sure your feelings are strong for that person, and that you feel like, not that you could never live without the person, but that the life you could draw with the person was better than the one. It makes you happier than the one you picture for yourself. You should never stop picturing a life for yourself, but I had been with this girl for something like a total of 4 years. Yeah, we had spent some time on and off to discover ourselves more, but like 4 years solid relationship. And I remember the idea actually came on because I grew up really poor. I did. College, if I had decided to go to a 4-year college, those of you who don't know, I've already been to a technical college. I graduated as a senior in high school and from a technical college at the same time with a degree in health occupation technology, and I worked at a nursing home as a restorative aide for something like 6 months.
Remind me to come back to that because that's interesting.
Absolutely, but so when the idea of marriage first came along, it was for the wrong reasons. I won't lie. She had a teacher suggest to her, because her parents made a good deal of money, enough that she wasn't going to get any help from the state or the government, that we should get married so she could not have to take out so many student loans. And I'd be lying to you guys if I didn't say no the first dozen times. I really did. And she pushed it, and she pushed it. And I remember telling her, look, I don't want to talk about this. Don't bring it up for a week. Don't bring it up. I don't want to talk about it. I'm thinking. You know, it's a big decision. And I don't blame my partner at the time, because that's a lot of pressure for her future. You have to understand what that meant for her and the future we could have had together. So when I was thinking about it, I remember thinking, yeah, there's a lot of benefits to her, but what about me? What am I getting out of this?
Absolutely,
What future am I drawing for myself?
It's your life too.
And I remember looking back thinking, yeah, I really care about this girl, you know? Maybe this isn't something that I'm that afraid of doing. So I wouldn't say that I was pressured into it, but I eventually gave in to my emotions, because my head was telling me no. My level-headedness was telling me no, I don't know about this, you know, but my emotions were telling me, look, man, you love this girl. Why not cinch it? Why not? Okay, so I did. June 2nd of 2019, we got married. We moved to lovely Lawrence, Kansas, if y'all have ever heard that commercial. Where she wanted to go to school, and so I did that, and that's a lot that what led me into my healthcare career. I worked under her mother. I made okay money, and we started to draw a life for ourselves. And it took me a long time to understand, not that I had left a life behind, but I hadn't gone into consideration enough the people I had and the way they affected me from where I was leaving, the area that I was leaving, the people that made so much of a difference and impact in my life, that not that I was worried about never seeing them again or never being in contact with them again, but when you set your life aside to try to make one with another person, yeah, your life never ends, your personal life never ends, but you are building a life with someone else. And so what they want and their considerations matter just as much, almost. So I took a lot of that into consideration, and I remember the first couple months feeling very off, very alone in a way. And there's a lot to be said about trying to rely on one person too much. I realized then that I could never get all that I ever wanted out of just her.
Right, you
or
can't.
any person.
You can't.
Any one person.
You can't put all your eggs in one basket with anything.
Absolutely, of course. So it became a long, hard-fought lesson of where are these emotions coming from, and how do I deal with them. And then, I was married. It became, I have not a responsibility, but almost. I have a responsibility to this person, to the life we're creating. To
You basically signed a contract.
Yeah, an obligation.
Signed your
I
life
was
away.
obligated to
be there for that person. You can't just walk away.
Absolutely, and I'd be lying if I said I didn't walk away a couple times. I did, and I say that I have reason for that. I believe I'm justified for that. I know where I was and how I was in the relationship. I believe that I was consciously aware of who I was enough to know that I wasn't necessarily in the wrong for the feelings that I was feeling. And so when that came to justifying me leaving, it was a real struggle, because it was, I love this person. What if they're not gonna go? What if they're gonna, fall without me? What if I was the support system they needed, even though I didn't realize it? And I'd be lying if I said I didn't hold myself accountable for a lot of the decisions she made after I left, because I felt like I had failed her in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had put that much pressure on myself to make it work because we were married. And now we don't talk much. We don't keep in touch. But I know where she is now is not the person that I really left behind. You know
It's
what I'm
not
saying?
the person you thought you fell in love with, probably.
Yeah, exactly. She continued to make, and it doesn't matter what you are in my life. I have no control over decisions that anyone makes in any point in my life, in any kind of relationship in my life. You will make whatever decisions you want to make, and I will base how I feel about you off those decisions, because I'm not going to believe your words of, I love you, I'll always be there for you, when...
Words without actions are empty.
Right. I wasn't getting the actions, because these last times we had split up, especially, it was more of a, look, I love you, and I don't want to give up on you, but you're allowing yourself to go places that I can't follow you, because I won't be able to pick myself back up. I knew that...
Don't drag me with you.
Exactly.
On your road to wherever you're headed.
And that's at a point where selfishness is such an important attribute to have.
I wouldn't say it's selfishness. Selfishness is not caring about another person, just only yourself. I would say it's more of self-awareness of your situation.
True.
And being able to realize, I gotta take care of myself as much as I care about this person, I care about myself, and there's nothing selfish about that.
Absolutely not. But then, so we were still on talking terms this last time I left for a while. And so I allowed her to make, I never said anything like manipulative in my mind. You know, I never told her, make these decisions and I'll never talk to you again. I never said that. I allowed her to make whatever decisions she wanted to make. She was her own person, always was. I stayed out of as much emotionally that I could. And she continued to make decisions that I couldn't follow. You know, different drugs, putting herself in different situations that weren't well thought out, you know, not respecting herself enough for me to realize that she was worth everything that I was going through. And I don't mean to make it sound like I thought she was less than me, but in her mind, that must have been how it was, or something similar, because I don't believe she would have ever continued to make the decisions she was making if she didn't feel lower about herself. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And I did my best to try to tell her and be as supportive as I could about the decisions she was making, but remind her, I can't follow you down some of these paths.
Right.
These are paths that are not made for me to walk on. I can't go down and not come back.
What would you say to younger people, I don't know, around our age or mostly your age, I'd say,
Yeah.
that think they're in love, and they might be, to each their own. You don't know where that person's at, and don't put a timeline based on someone else's opinion, right?
Absolutely.
I don't know.
You
I'm
can
no
find
expert.
love at 17 and you can find it at 45.
Absolutely, but and don't take what I'm saying like I'm some expert. I'm just rambling here. What would you say to them? Are they ready? What would you consider? What should they consider before making that move?
One, that you'll never truly be ready for what your future holds, especially when you start to create a life with someone else. You can try to plan it out the most you want to, but nothing will ever work the way you want it to, I imagine. At least for me, it never did. Maybe I allowed my influence to not be as present as it should have been. But
Also, don't get married for the wrong reasons.
absolutely. Don't let yourself believe, even if it is for the greater good of the futures that both of you could draw. I mean, that was less debt for the both of us. Us getting married, if we had, for whatever reason, if we had never split up and we were still together, that would have been not a bad decision. It would have saved us a lot of money in the long run, and when she graduated, it could have been a totally different story. But, you know, given how it turned out, I know now that you really have to make sure that you're ready to risk it all. It's no joke. It's like your passion. Anytime you decide to set a goal with something, you should always all in or all out. There's no in between.
Right, and if you're saying, I'm gonna spend the rest of my life with you. And in what relationship, what friendship is everything ever perfect?
Never.
It's never.
No.
You're gonna get mad at that person. You're gonna resent that person.
For one reason
But
or
I
another.
love you, saying I love you to somebody, and I do at the altar in front of everyone's family and God, is saying I love you means I'm going to work through everything that comes up.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean to say that to, oh, shame on you, Tyler.
No, absolutely not.
It's more of, you made the point of don't get married for the wrong reasons, and that's huge.
Mm-hmm.
Are you marrying this person because of the financial stuff? Are you getting married to this person because of what their family has, what they can bring to you? Or are you marrying this person because I love this person, I want to be with this person, I want to experience life with this person, I want to raise children with this person?
Absolutely.
So.
And don't get me wrong, guys. I won't say that I was ever fooled into believing that. I did that to myself. I know that. I'm responsible enough to know and recognize that I made those decisions that led me everywhere I went. I am the controller of my universe. As much as you are of yours, and you are of yours. At the end of the day, you can't be mad at someone manipulating you when you allowed yourself to be manipulated. I remember when I first said no, and I didn't want to talk about it, she got real upset. And I remember how I felt back then about how, like, why are you getting so upset? I'm just 18, you know, you're just about to be 18. Why are we stressing so much about this, you know? But I know back then that we felt very, very strongly towards each other, and the effort that I saw towards her becoming the person that she wanted to be and that I admired in her, she was going towards. And you should never stop evaluating your partner, because if there are things you value in them, especially like the person they're trying to become, or what they fight, or what they deal with, or the effort they put towards you, you should always hold those things very, very... Boundaries are so important. A boundary that made me lose not my respect, but my effort in the relationship, that affected my effort, was that she stopped putting in effort towards the things that she knew were affecting the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of those things that you have to be ready for. When you say you're gonna do it, that I do is, yeah, it's very much I will work through everything. And I felt like I was losing that from her point of view, like I felt that I had done everything, at least up until that point, that I could to put us where we wanted to be. I had left my family, moved hours away, left all my friends, moved hours away, took on a career that I liked, yeah, definitely fits my personality, but that when I started and got into, I didn't enjoy much. And I went through it, and I worked through it the best I could until, you know, other things started to surface. And don't ever stop evaluating your partner just because you are married. You deserve to be happy, and whether that person continues to see the value in that is on them, not you. You can't make anyone see anything they don't want to see.
And another thing is, you're gonna marry this person, and you're gonna find out things about this person that you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And some of those things are gonna drive you up a freaking wall.
Absolutely.
So you gotta learn that, one, is this how this person is? How do I deal with it? And then, what can I do to help? And that's what people sometimes don't realize. Let's take a break real quick.
I have to fucking pee.
Yeah.